Welcome to Eat Sleep Nerd, a podcast where you can check out, go AFK, and relax with us as we discuss all things nerd. Comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, and anything else that gets geeks more worked up than Disney executives, realizing Marvel isn't bulletproof.
In this episode, we dive into the nerdy news to discuss Barney, America's favorite purple dinosaur, getting a reboot and a facelift, new I Am Legend and Hellboy movies, Disney rethinking Marvel and Star Wars output, and Internet Explorer is dead. Later in the show, we share our spoiler reviews and discussions of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and then we wrap things up with our continued spoilery discussion of HBO's The Last of Us with our review of Episode 6. And don't forget to please follow us on all the social media accounts and on YouTube, youtube.com/@eatsleepnerd, and subscribe to our show on all of your podcast apps. And welcome to episode number 45. I'm your dorky DJ, Corey Winter, and as always, I am joined by my nerdy brother, Josh Winter, and our geeky friends, Jason Summer and Christian James.
Meow.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, you know.
I got my coffee, so I'm pretty elated.
Yeah, we are recording before Christian is typically conscious, so he's doing great. You look great.
Doing great.
And we got Jason via satellite again. You're sounding great, buddy. You sound great.
Your new laptop's in the mail.
Jason, technical difficulties, Summer.
Yeah, it's like it's just so stupid. It's like I work in IT. How can I not get one freaking laptop to work the way that I need it to work?
Oh, so what have you guys been geeking out on this week? Who wants to start? Because we want to shine some light on things that we're not talking about as a whole. So, Jason, what have you been soloing this week?
Han.
Okay.
That just that's just weird. Okay, that didn't come out the way anyway. Let's see. Other than the assignments that we had for discussions for this week, I have checked out the new Star Trek Picard season 3, episode 1,
which still has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it was a good, fun episode. It was nice to see, certain people back in action. But it was also kind of meh. I mean, it was kind of bland. But there is a Captain Shaw who is in command of the Titan, which used to be Riker's ship. And you could just tell, loathes Captain Picard and Admiral Picard and Captain Riker. And I hated this guy by the end of the episode. But that is a testament
were you
to how
supposed to
good
hate
he
him?
is. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a good actor, and he was the standout for this episode. The guy that plays Captain Shaw.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
and
that's what
unfortunately Josh has not watched it.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know
what is going on there.
I don't know. I've been so crunk about it for so long, and then I missed the video.
And I promise, I sent you guys. I let you guys know. You guys said Ant-Man comes out on the 16th, and I said Picard comes out the same night. I remember saying that, texting it.
Josh, what happened?
Just drop the ball.
So this week I got into a new show. It's not new, but Mayor of Kingstown. It's new to me. And this is Jeremy Renner's show.
Yeah.
It's on the second season right now. It's just started airing its second season.
Pre-Snowplow?
Wow. Yes. God.
Way too soon.
That is way too soon. But
he's fine.
So anyway, this show, there is so much grit. This is a dark show, which is right up my alley. I love this show so much. And the general concept is that the show is set in a town.
Is it Kingstown?
Yes.
Okay.
Kingstown, Michigan, which is actually not a real town, but it's actually based off of a town in Canada, which is kind of like the same thing, where there are 7 prisons, all within like a 10-mile radius. And
that's in Canada?
Yes. Yes.
That sounds like the U.S. for real.
It's
right?
literally all of their prisons. They're all right there.
And so the idea is that the business of the prison system kind of runs the town. And so the mayor of Kingstown, Jeremy Renner, he kind of like negotiates deals between the police, the gangs, and the prison to like keep everything copacetic without, to keep things like from
to maintain the balance.
And so he is
Because that actually does sound riveting.
He is hardcore. Like, this is like Jeremy Renner at his hardcoreest.
So Jeremy Renner is a Jedi.
What?
He brings balance to the Force.
No, but yes. So much death and destruction and gore and nudity and swearing and just all that stuff. But it's so great. And surprise thing for me was that it was actually created by and produced by and co-starring Hugh Dillon, which is actually like one of my favorite actors of all time because he was in that old Canada show I used to love, Flashpoint. So I was surprised to see him in this and actually like was the creator of this show. So I love this show all the way around. I am giving that like a 5 out of 5 across the board. It's so good. Some of the most tense TV I've ever watched. So if you're into that kind of stuff, highly recommend. Season 2 is still airing on Paramount.
So is he the actual mayor or mayor de facto?
No, he is. He like that's like his like the name he's been given. He's not actually the mayor of the town.
Gotcha.
So what's the mayor doing?
Right?
Apparently just coasting.
Yeah. He's doing my job for me. All right, cool.
But no, highly recommend that one. I hope it keeps going. I hope it gets to season 3 because this story is riveting.
Well, I feel like if it doesn't, it won't be because the show wasn't doing well.
He's going to be
awkward.
I think he's going to be fine.
He's going to be fine.
I think he's going to be fine.
He'll be doing well, Jeremy. Like
we really do.
So Josh, what's up?
I've actually been catching up on my comics.
Nice.
Yeah, it's something that I don't do consistently, but it's kind of fun because then when I jump back into it, I can binge like 50 issues.
Yeah, I like to do that too.
Yeah, and so like it's okay. I've developed a rhythm. I've been catching up, especially on the Batman comics, which is neat because I've been hearing on the social medias that it's gotten a little ridiculous, not necessarily in a bad way, just that like they've kind of taken the idea of Batman to like new levels of ridiculousness. And so like in the current issues, he's being chased by essentially like a Terminator. And it's
okay. Hold on.
It's sort of
sounds awesome already.
Yeah. So it's sort of an Ultron situation. It was built to help the Justice League, and it decided that the best way would be to eliminate the Justice League. So the big issue that everyone's talking about is number 131, I think. But the bulk of it takes place on the Watchtower, which is the Justice League's space station that orbits the Earth. And Batman is trying to get away from this killer robot, and he goes into the teleportation room, gets in the teleportation chamber, and the robot kind of makes fun of him. He's like, you're supposed to be Batman, and like your plan is to run away. Like that's not cool. And Batman's just like, I'm not going anywhere. And he turns on the teleporter, but he's rewired it, and it teleports everything except for the teleportation system, like the teleportation chamber. So it blows up the Watchtower, basically, and it gets rid of the robot. But now Batman's in space, and he doesn't have a spacesuit.
Ooh.
Yeah, so stay with me here. It only gets more ridiculous. Stay with me. So luckily, because it's Batman, the suit's hermetically sealed, aside from the face mask portion. And so he sees one of the jets that's just in the debris, and takes out his grapnel gun, which is pneumatic, and he uses the air pressure in the grappling gun to push himself over towards the jet, inside of which he finds an oxygen tank. So now he's got oxygen.
Okay.
And he gets onto a piece of debris, and he realizes that if he doesn't do the math correctly, there's no way he'll enter Earth's atmosphere correctly. Bear in mind, he is not in a ship. So he's holding on to the debris, and he's again using the air in his grapnel gun. And he starts going through, and it kind of lets you know that this takes like hours for this to happen. And at some point, he passes out. And then he starts to wake back up when he starts to re-enter the atmosphere. And he realizes that he's going super, super, super fast. And it's getting super, super, super hot. Luckily, the bat suit is flame resistant.
Because,
However,
Batman.
He's still got the problem of the face hole.
How has he not thought that through before?
He did, because he's Batman. And the narration says, and this is why I told Clark trunks were a good idea. And he takes the trunks off and he wraps it around his head. All right. So now he's flying into the Earth's atmosphere. And then And he's again going over like how the math was super important. He had to get the math right because he doesn't just want to survive. He has to land in a very specific spot. And so it's going through, and again, it's ridiculous and it's absurd, but it was some of the coolest artwork I've ever seen because the last few panels before he hits the ground, he is this flaming bat that just like comes in because he has to spread the cape so that he doesn't crash, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just this blazing trail of fire, and he looks like this demon, and like the wings are spanned over, and he just lands, and just boom, hits the ground. And when he stands back up, he's at the Fortress of Solitude. And when he gets inside, everyone inside is just like, how did you get here? And the last thing he says is, I fell from the moon. And that's it. And it's like, is it ridiculous? Absolutely. But like, if you've just accepted the suspension of disbelief, because you have to, it's great. It's great. It's peak Batman. So kind of hope we get something like that in the DCU.
That sounds like old comic writing. Like,
yeah, like if we don't get it, I'm out.
Fantasy and just
it's completely absurd.
Great. That's great.
It's ridiculous, but like it was so cool, you just accept it. Like, it was, you know what? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, but I'm so glad I got to see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like they went, yeah, we know you nerds don't know anything about aeronautics, so
the basics of space.
Yeah, so we're just gonna do this. You're gonna accept it.
All right, Christian, round robin, you're next.
Well, after hearing that, I don't know if I want to talk about my thing. My thing is less.
Yeah, I think you can follow up with Flaming Batman.
Yeah. This is not a cleanup. But Jason, I don't know how far you gotten, but I actually got into Kaleidoscope last week.
Okay.
I went a different direction. I think you went green, right?
I did.
So I started the rainbow way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With red.
Okay.
Yeah, when I started watching, it was in chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
Because Stephen King recommended that order, so I was listening to Stephen King, the man that knows how to tell a story. So,
I mean, it's the straight up story, but the thing is to find the mystery of who done it.
Someone had to do it.
That's true.
I was biting that bullet.
That's true.
So, I did not finish it.
What did you think of the first episode that you watched?
Well, I mean, my first episode was interesting. I think it was 6 weeks before the theft or robbery, whatever they call it. Heist. Yeah, there we go. That's the word.
That's the word.
Yeah. But it was very interesting. Like I always forget his name because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Giancarlo Esposito.
That one.
Old GE.
Yeah. Excellent actor.
Mm-hmm. Right?
We were talking about Breaking Bad the other day, and I was like, "Oh, yes." And I remember him wasn't he in Better Call Saul?
He was in like everything.
He's everything.
He's everything.
Oh, he's everywhere. But yeah, excellent actor. I like the younger version of him where they had to put hair on him.
Yeah.
Really weird.
Like more than his little fuzz.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't like that. He kind of looks like Cleveland when they go back in time when he has like the weird hair. It throws me off.
Yeah.
You look like Kit and Play. That's actually two people.
But yeah, it's already starting out pretty excellent.
Yeah,
it is a good show. Maybe eventually we'll get around to reviewing that one as a team, but
who knows?
That might be the lost episode.
You know what? Hey, Christian, if you want, I'd be willing to do a side episode with you.
There you go.
Talk about it.
Yeah. We can do that. Tight.
That'd be cool.
Right. So, thank you for that segue. So, in production notes, that episode might be coming at some point. I don't have any big, like Ant-Man was our big thing and like the only big thing for a while. Obviously, we'll continue watching The Last of Us as it continues airing new episodes. But the one big production note I want to mention is that if you have not noticed, I have been doing time codes and chapter markers on our podcast episodes. And so if we come to like a spoilery section that you want to skip over, you can find the description of this episode in your podcast player or on YouTube. And you can select chapters and stuff. So you can skip around if you want to skip over things that you might not want to hear. So you can find that in the show notes in the episode description.
Didn't you have an interesting experience with your car with that?
Dude, chapter things are so cool with podcasts now. Like I was driving in my car and I was listening to our podcast because, ego. And Apple's CarPlay, I just made Jason do a spit take. So yeah, Apple CarPlay like will show you chapter markers of podcast episodes like on your screen, which is pretty cool. I didn't know it did that. But yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, I'm not sure every podcast player has the chapter select, but if your player does support it, I know Apple Podcast does. You can find the chapter markers in the episode description. So on that note, do you guys want to get into the nerdy news?
Hit it.
All right, we have, I think, 5 stories to cover this episode. And the first one is not one we typically would talk about, but Josh brought this to my attention. And I think we have to talk about it. So Barney, America's favorite purple dinosaur, is coming back with a new show and a new look. Jason, I cannot hear myself. So Barney, the polarizing purple dinosaur, who was a mainstay of many millennial upbringings, is making a triumphant return to TV screens next year, but this time he'll be animated. Mattel Incorporated announced a comprehensive revitalization of the Barney brand, saying that a new flagship television series will air globally in 2024. Also in the works, a film, YouTube content, music, toys, books, and apparel for kids and kids at heart. And while the new and improved Barney may have bigger eyes and a more maneuverable jaw, the lessons he delivers through song and dance will be familiar to many more former fans, Mattel says. And so the big story is that Barney has a new look, and it's kind of dividing people.
Hate it.
So
Hate it
let's take
so
a little
much.
poll. Who watched Barney growing up?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Josh?
No.
Oh, well, I did not either because he scared the crap out of me.
The thing about me is that I hate catchy songs.
Yeah, I hate it. Yeah.
Because it gets stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And that stupid song got stuck in my head.
Yeah, I hated kids' shows so much as a kid.
And I
like
hate
Teletubbies, nah.
Unless it was Gullah Gullah Island.
Yeah.
That one slapped.
Gullah Island.
So, Josh,
I
did you have thoughts about this?
I just hate it.
Oh,
I just hate everything about it.
So the internet as a whole hated this too, and I actually brought up TMZ for this story. I'm using TMZ as a source because they put together a great article about how the internet is slamming this new Barney. And so just to quote TMZ, which is just something I never thought I would say.
It's better than Fox News.
Barney is back with a brand new look, but not everyone is feeling the digital makeover, dragging the reboot character all across the internet. The new and improved Barney, set to officially debut in 2024, clearly isn't sitting well with the majority of folks on social media. One user wrote, "That ain't Barney, bruh. They made my man's dirty." Another said, "Why does Barney look like he's sky high cracked on cocaine? That face is unsettling as hell."
I'm assuming they're talking about the original one because, yeah, I was about to say most of these characters look zooted.
So here's the question: is like the whole show animated, or is it animated dinosaurs with live action children?
I'm not sure. And they did say that's like multiple different mediums. Like it's going to be YouTube, it's going to be film, TV. So maybe just the TV show is animated, but some other things are live action. I don't know.
I'm still wondering who asked for this.
Literally no one.
Right?
Also, why do we always do the thing where they give the characters like a chipped tooth or a gap to make them relatable?
I think in this case it's so like he just doesn't have like a
Yeah, but like I think I would like it at least 20% more if he didn't have that stupid gap in the front of his
Yeah. That's how he was before. Did the article talk about this where one of the reasons why Barney was off TV because all the producers and stuff got sued because they weren't paying the kids?
Oh,
wow.
I didn't hear about that.
I did not see that, no.
Yeah, that was one of the things I've heard about why it was off TV.
So probably not bringing back live children.
We're going to bring back dead children.
Some Make-A-Wish children.
No, I think this is interesting to bring back Barney because like he was like a very controversial character. Like the voice actor received like death threats and stuff a few years ago for like various reasons. Like I'm not sure why they would want to bring this character back. Like he's like controversial.
Yeah, did they see what happened to like the quote unquote new Steve?
Yeah,
this man was hated for no reason.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Classic Steve was best.
Yeah, right. So any other thoughts?
I mean, here I'm showing my age here, but like I grew up on Nickelodeon when it was still like educational shows, and we had plus and minus puppets, and then of course on PBS we had Sesame Street, and then somehow the Muppets got worked in there, and
Reading Rainbow,
exactly. Things like that. Those are the kid shows that I grew up on, and that's what was available. So I'm kind of glad that I missed the Barney and all those other shows of that kind of ilk. So
yeah. I was Blue's Clues, Bob the Builder. Who was the turtle? Franklin.
Jesus.
Yes, those are my jams.
Babar was my generation. You remember Babar, Josh?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
All right.
Arthur,
yes.
No, never watched Arthur.
What? Wow, that was a good one. PBS.
Sure?
Yes. Yes. All right, let's move into our next story. I Am Legend. So this sequel has been rumored for a decade now. It's been in the works for who knows
I
how
thought you were
long.
talking about yourself for a minute. I was like, dude, that goes back to the ego thing earlier. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway.
I Am Legend.
Okay.
So I Am Legend sequel will take place several decades after the first movie. I Am Legend 2, starring Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan, will take place several decades after the original 2007 post-apocalyptic action thriller. In conversation with Deadline, producer and screenwriter Akiva Goldsman shared new details about the I Am Legend sequel, revealing that the film will feature a significant time jump, with the alternate ending to the first movie being treated as canon in the sequel.
I was about to say, like, didn't he blow himself up?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how is he going to be in this movie?
So the alternate ending was the vastly superior ending.
I think I remember that.
And the gist of it, so for those who don't know or don't remember this movie or didn't watch it, the idea of it was a virus breaks out, turns most of humanity into something halfway between a vampire and a zombie, and Will Smith is alone. Until we find out Will Smith is not alone. And he has been experimenting on the vampire zombies because he wants to figure out if he can create a cure, because again, he thinks he's alone. So he continues to work and tries to find that. And of course, that occasionally means abducting one or two of the little vampire thingies because he has to perform experiments and whatnot. And the end of the movie, he's got his new companions and he's trying to help them escape, but the vampires are overrunning his house because they figured out that he's in there and that he's got some of them hostage and all that other fun stuff. And in the original theatrical ending, he helps his new people escape and then blows himself up with a grenade, killing all the vampires who were trying to come in and get him. And that was supposed to be the better ending. The alternate ending, which I guess is what they're going with now, he is trying to help his people escape and he's getting ready to do the grenade thing. But then he notices that the zombies who are trying to get into the room where he's got his little experiment zombie, they stop trying to get in and they actually make a little gesture on the glass that basically lets him know they're not mindless zombies. They're literally there not to hurt him, but to get their person. They want their person back.
Yeah.
And so he opens up the door and they kind of reach a truce where they take their person and they leave, which is thematically closer to how the book was, but the book is still 8 times better.
That twist would have blown my freaking mind in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So it's good, and I'm glad that that's the ending they're going with, but I'll be as brief as I can. In the book, he is not really trying to cure the zombies, and they're much closer to vampires than they are to zombies. Like, they're smart. They yell at him. They talk to him at night. They're trying to drive him insane. But then during the day, when they all go to hibernate or go to sleep, he's not trying to kill them. He makes steaks and he's not trying to cure them. He makes steaks and he goes out every day. And one of his chores is to stake as many sleeping vampires as he possibly can. And so when he meets who he thinks is another survivor, he finds out later that she's essentially a day walker. She's just a vampire that can go out during the day. And and she takes him prisoner, and the book ends with him being taken out to be executed at night. Like, they have a public execution of him. And when he looks out and he sees all of them, he realizes they're terrified of him. And the title I Am Legend comes from, to them, to the New World Order, he's the monster that comes to get them when they're sleeping.
Wow. I never knew that.
Wow.
What a twist.
Yeah. And then he dies. But but yeah, so I mean, to me, that is like peak gothic horror. Like, that was so good. And they just have not had a movie adaptation yet that does that ending justice quite right.
So the director does say they will be leaning more into the novel to base the sequel off of. So hopefully it's a little bit more faithful to that original.
Which means they're going to do it with Michael B. Jordan, and he's going to die at the end. I'm calling it right now. 5 years in advance.
I've also noticed that they're going to keep the killing his dog scene.
Yes.
Oof.
That was depressing.
That was hard.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up, because that was Oscar worthy right there.
Yes.
Like, that scene, my gosh. I mean, that entire movie for him was Oscar worthy. Like, he led the entire movie. But yeah, that dog scene. Whew.
I think that was like after I saw Marley and Me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad year for dogs.
That hit extra hard.
So yeah. How do we feel about using an alternate ending as canon to make a sequel?
Well, in my head, the Snyder Cut is still the real Justice League. So
didn't you want to make a statement about that? We'll come back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But so just alternate endings becoming canon for a sequel. Is that weird? I mean, it is weird.
I mean, it is weird. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely weird.
Are we okay with it?
I mean, yes, if it's the better ending.
Yeah.
100%. It's just, it's just going to confuse people, though.
Yeah.
Like
they had to somehow bring that alternate ending in to open the sequel.
Yeah, like I was going to say, you'd almost have to recap the ending.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's okay. Like, to me, fundamentally, movies are art. And any artist should be able to look at their back catalog and say, I'm proud of that. That was good. I would do things differently now if I was to do it. And so, I mean, George Lucas, of all people, reworks his whole friggin' movies to do it. So, I mean, it's fundamentally, I'm cool with it as long as we make sure that anything that builds upon that establishes that you have changed what came before. And Stephen King is really good about it too. Like, we've talked about The Dark Tower before and how that is a huge series. And almost every time that gets a new edition, he has changed things. It's not always little changes. Sometimes it's huge. But it's because he was kind of making that series up as he went along. And when he got to volume 5 or volume 6, when they re-released volumes 1 through 5 or whatever to get people hyped for the new one, he would make changes so that it fits better with what came after it. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's good as long as everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
I also want to add to that. The other thing that I think people need to just remember is that ultimately movies are entertainment and built on fantasy fiction, unless it's a movie that's based in fact. I mean, just go for the ride. I mean, it's like, who cares? Honestly, I mean, people are so wrapped up. I mean, like, studios are so wrapped up in trying to make 30 movies fit together that now they're, becoming possibly crap for the most part. So,
well, see, it's funny.
Saying.
It's funny that you say that. And this is a little bit of a segue, but I think it's a good segue. We were talking about this last night after we had left the movie. I am willing to bet anything that when they reset the DCU, they are not going to be super thorough and detailed the way I think a lot of people are expecting it to be. Mm-hmm. I think it's really going to be, okay, Flash was the reset. And that's it. Like, that's your explanation. Like, anytime someone brings up the whole, well, okay, but is this still, no, don't worry about it. Shut up. It's done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, cause like I rewatched the Suicide Squad the other night, which was the first time I rewatched it since we all watched it together. And I think they're going to handle the reboot kind of like they handled that movie. Is it a sequel? Is it a redo? I don't know. Don't worry about it. Shut up. Like, I kind of think that's how they're going to do this DC reboot. Like, they're going to have enough plot explanation in The Flash that that by the end of The Flash, it's different. But as far as how much did they rework Aquaman and how much did they rework all these other projects like Blue Beetle that are coming up? Shut up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's different. Shut up.
Just enjoy it.
Just shut up. Yeah. Like I think that's how they're going to do it.
It's one of the reasons why I loved the new Star Trek movie so much, the 2009 Star Trek, because they did it right, where they opened up the entire Star Trek universe to doing whatever they wanted to do in a way that was very Star Trek.
Yeah. Everything before is not changed.
Right. It's just now they
just have their own timeline.
Right. Which I thought was brilliant. I knew exactly what they did and I thought it was brilliant. And I hated the fact that that movie got so much flack for it. I'm like, no, he did everything the way he was supposed to do it. It was perfect.
Yeah.
So
it both is and is not part of Star Trek. Like that's awesome.
So I think 2009 Star Trek is a good example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just how it is. It's changed.
Yeah.
It's
like I think people are expecting this like highly detailed outline of like, okay, this counts. This doesn't count. This has been redone. This is no.
Yeah.
It's just the Flash change things. And that's it. That's the only explanation you're going to get.
So you said you wanted to segue, and this is not in the agenda. We're going ad lib on this one. So Josh,
yes,
you mentioned you wanted to announce something to our audience.
So after a lot of soul searching and self-reflection, rumination, I have renounced my Snyder fandomness. And it is purely because that fandom has gotten so stupid that I no longer wish to be a part of it. I still love his movies. And I think that anytime you get a choice between his version and the studio version, his version is better factually. But good Lord, these Snyder people are out of control. Like they will never be happy.
Right.
Like they are the definition of a toxic fandom. Like it has gotten so bad. So it's not that I don't like that anymore. It's just that I no longer want to be associated with that group. Like it has gotten ridiculous. This whole sell the Justice League to Netflix is so stupid. And it's so stupid that even James Gunn had to comment on it. And he was just like, this is the most ridiculous hashtag I've ever seen because literally no one involved wants this.
Yeah.
The only people who want it are the fans who think they can bully studios into doing whatever they want. And so like the hashtag is sell Zack Snyder's Justice League to Netflix. The idea being, since Warner Brothers has announced that they are willing to license out shows to other networks if they think it's a good idea, the fans are just like, okay, well, cool. License the Snyderverse out to Netflix because Netflix used to have a reputation of saving shows.
Yeah.
So they're not even aware of the fact that Netflix is now notorious for canceling shows. So you'd probably get half of one season of your show and then get it canceled. So you don't even get the closure that you want. And so anyway, James Gunn was just like, no one at Netflix is asking for this license. No one at Warner Brothers is offering this license. And most of the people who you would want to act in it are no longer interested in acting in it.
Also, Zack Snyder has moved on. He has another universe.
Yeah, he's already at Netflix. And
which
he's
I'm
having a heck of a time. Yeah,
Yes.
like he's having a heck of a time.
Yeah.
He's building his own universes. He's got his new Rebel Moon universe, and he's got the Army of the Dead universe that he's working on. So, because they've announced that we're getting at least one more sequel to that. So but these people just think if they hashtag and scream about it long enough, they'll get it's just, guys, it's done.
Yeah.
Like it's over. Shut up. Please shut up.
Please shut up.
Just please shut up.
Hashtag please shut up.
If you don't have shares in the company, be quiet.
Well, no, the very best response I saw to all of this got like several 100,000 likes. A guy goes, y'all need to go outside and touch some grass. like just
fantastic.
get up from the computer, go outside and just run your fingers through some grass. Like this is not real. Let it go. It's okay.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, that's just, I'm officially over it. I'm done.
Let's move into our next story. So Disney has been rethinking the output for Star Wars and Marvel properties. And I don't even know how to segue into this. So we got a bunch of different updates from this Hollywood Reporter article. Basically saying that they, for cost-cutting reasons, but also just for quality of content reasons, they are instructing Feige and he is agreeing that they need to scale back their content.
Agreed.
And so we have a lot of little things that came out from this story. And a few things is that originally we were expecting 5 different shows, 5 different MCU shows coming out this year on Disney Plus. It was originally going to be What If Season 2, Echo, Ironheart, Agatha, Secret Invasion, and Loki Season 2. But now it's looking like it's only going to be Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2 that are coming out this year. Everything else is likely getting pushed at least to 2024. We have a newly confirmed Nova series in the works, but they're slowing the production on that, so it's probably going to be a few years before we see anything about that one. They are delaying the Marvels movie that was originally scheduled, I think, for this summer, right? It's now being pushed back to November. And then Feige has said that they are likely going to start making fewer shows for the MCU going forward, and I have a little quote here. He says, I do think one of the powerful aspects of being at Marvel Studios is having these films and shows hit the zeitgeist. It is harder to hit the zeitgeist when there's so much product out there and so much content, as they say, which is a word that I hate. But we want Marvel Studios and the MCU projects to really stand out and stand above. So people will see that as we get further into phase 5 and 6, the pace at which we're putting out Disney Plus shows will change so that we can get each a chance to shine.
Thank God.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's the good news is it sounds like people at Disney are at least aware of our concerns.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way they didn't see the whole phase 4 was longer than all of phases 1 through 3 and nothing happened. Like, at a certain point, if you just put out junk to put out junk, even if it's decent junk, I'm just going to stop watching. Like,
well, I think it was the phase from COVID. Yeah. Everybody made this transition to TV shows. And so once they started making TV shows, it was the hit thing. But then we got out of staying inside.
Yeah, suddenly I don't have 84 hours to put into a show anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think this is where the decision comes from. We're just like, all right, now we can stop.
Back to the standard model.
Yes.
Yeah.
What this also means is that it makes room for other properties and other shows that are outside the Marvel universe to come up, like maybe something like a one-off shows or another type of IP. You know, it just makes room for other things too.
Especially now since Disney wants to have another Frozen for some reason. So more people can watch those things instead of more Marvel content on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Oh, I'm actually glad you brought up Frozen. So actually in this Hollywood Reporter article, they were mentioning how recent animated movies underperformed for Pixar. And Bob Iger is wanting to focus on those established IPs because that's what people, there's an established audience for them. But for new IPs, like what was the one that came out this year for Pixar that just like bombed? I think it was Strange World. Yeah. And so that one, like, just no one went to go see it. But people are going to go see Frozen because there's already an audience for it.
And that's another thing, too. When we went to the theater, there was a movie poster for their new animated series, not series, but movie, Elemental.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have, because I know how.
yeah. And I was like, I wonder how well that movie's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually same paragraph, just a little bit further down. There is talk of longer theatrical windows for Elemental coming out in June and Disney Animation's Wish coming out in November in hopes of luring families back to theaters. Because in the same article, they're saying that they believe people got, like, especially families that have little kids that watch these shows and movies, they got accustomed to just expecting these movies to eventually come to Disney Plus. So why go to the theater?
Exactly.
And so now they're trying to, like, get people back into the theater because that's where the money is at.
When you guys saw Ant-Man, did it not have a trailer for Elemental on it?
It did not.
No.
Oh,
we went
I
to go
saw the
see
trailer.
IMAX though, so the previews were different than standard showings.
We got the cool previews.
Yes. It looked like an interesting concept for a movie. Elemental is kind of like Zootopia, but in a way that all of the inhabitants are a representation of one of the 4 elements: earth, fire, wind, and water.
No heart?
Not that I saw, but I mean, they may be keeping that for, some sort of reveal.
Almost zero chance of getting Captain Planet.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe at the end he becomes like the king. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. I mean, anything can happen these days. No, but it did look interesting. It looked different enough to where I might be inclined to check it out, but it's still nothing
when it
that
hits
just
Disney
grabs.
Plus.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's streaming. Yeah, at this point, yeah.
So let's bring Star Wars into this conversation, because this article was touching on both Marvel and Star Wars properties for Disney. So they say Star Wars is facing the opposite challenge. So where Marvel has a lot of content, Star Wars does not have much. And so after being absent from the big screen since 2019 and having had false starts with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, which may never materialize, Disney has ramped up its efforts to return the franchise to theaters. What?
So if Marvel had an over-planning problem where, like, we got 84 shows because they quote-unquote figured out how it could all fit together, Star Wars had the opposite problems. They were putting out movies to meet a deadline with no real plan of how they fit together. And so the Star Wars shows have been so good because it's more or less been two dudes who have made every single one of them.
Yeah.
And they all fit well together.
I think we talked about this before. Like, are people still wanting the connection? Because we've already been through the main connection.
Well, see, so that's it. We have to get away from Skywalkers.
Yes.
Just stop it. Stop it. We're done. That has been beaten to death. And Palpatines. Yes. and so no, it's the smartest thing they could possibly do would be to go to a completely different era and start a new movie series there. I'm thinking High Republic. But, you know, the old Republic, like the original Republic. That would be baller. But yes, to what Christian was saying, their most successful movies recently have been the ones that didn't tie into anything else. So, like, Rogue One is considered probably the best modern Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yes. But it tied directly into New Hope.
I mean, yes.
I mean, it really did.
Yes.
The opening of New Hope, but
like you're factually correct.
But no, I did that to be a pain in the ass. It is a separate story. So you're right. I'll give you that.
The core story has nothing. Has nothing to do with our original cast of actors.
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, Rogue One is a perfect example of what you're trying to say.
Yes, it is a movie that expands the universe, not Luke Skywalker's story. I love Mark Hamill, but I'm done, bro.
And in fact, I could have done without the cameo of R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Yeah, honestly,
like there was no point to that other than
it literally could have ended when they got away and Darth Vader was standing there pissed. Like, it could have ended right then and it would have been perfect.
Right, because we knew what that cruiser was. We all knew what it was.
Yeah, we knew where it was going.
Yeah.
We didn't need the eerie Leia right at the end. Creepy, not real Leia at the end. Like, that was unnecessary.
Fisheye Leia. It was very...
Yeah.
Like, eyes too far apart. It was just... They tried.
And they were focused on nothing. Like, it was weird.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
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 See,
like, she wasn't looking
Nivea
at anything.
They should have that Nivea software. The iWatch.
Where it just looks straight at the camera the entire time.
Straight at the camera.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, my point is...
Yes. Please get back on topic.
The point is, I don't disagree that there is a dearth of Star Wars material. I just think that Star Wars has made the move to television instead of movies. And I think it's better for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel an overwhelming need for a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
There's an article which quote where Liam Neeson recently is saying Star Wars has lost its mysticism, its magic, because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
And
like that all the self-awareness that I just gave Disney credit for as far as the Marvel stuff goes, and for being aware of what people are actually saying and thinking, just kind of went out the window when they say, yeah, now we're going to start doing Star Wars movies again. Well, hold up now. We've got a good thing going with Star Wars. Don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Like, there's just enough time between Star Wars projects that I get excited when a Star Wars project comes back. Like, there's just enough time between seasons of Mandalorian that I get crunk when the Mandalorian's coming back.
That one's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
March 1st.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm crunk for it.
Me
so,
too.
like, yeah, like, it's, I think they're in a great place with Star Wars. Because in the meantime, we got the last season or the new season of Rebels or whatever. And, like, it's or Bad Batch. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, Bad Batch.
So, like, we got new seasons of Bad Batch. That's wrapping up. Now we've got Mandalorian coming back. Like, Star Wars is doing good. Leave it alone. Just because you don't have to have a movie. It's fine.
Well, something I want to point out real quick is I don't know how many of you remember this, but before episode 1 came out, Star Wars was kept alive almost completely by novelizations or books. And then toy lines that were somewhat related to these books.
Yeah.
And their toys, like there was always Star Wars toys. There was always new Star Wars toys. And they were always kind of neat and fascinating. And you always had these Star Wars stories going on that weren't necessarily canon, but they were still related close enough to where like, oh, this would be a cool story, to see in a movie. And so from 1983 to 1999, Star Wars was thriving on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just by
saying,
existing.
we don't need all this content.
Yeah.
Star Wars can just exist.
Yeah, just accept that it was just the phenomenon it was at the time, and like the scale that it was at back in the day. It's not going to be the same now.
Yeah,
we got
true.
new stuff.
Yeah.
We got new stuff.
We got new stuff to look at.
Well, like more importantly, like even when they announced their big grand plan for Star Wars a few years back, like right after they just purchased Fox. Like, remember the original plan was every Christmas you got either an Avatar or a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Every Christmas. That's almost too frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, the James Bond movies always had really good spacing. Like it was 3 or 4 years between each James Bond movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was just long enough that when the new James Bond movie was coming, it was like, yes, new James Bond. Like every other year, that's almost too fast.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that's like the worst thing to say to a group of nerds who are constantly
I'm with you.
But it's okay. If we're going to bring back Star Wars movies, I want them to feel like they've gotten more than a week's worth of writing on it. And I don't want a new one every year or every other year. Like that's too much.
And make sure Jon Favreau and
is completely in charge.
Newly Hollywood Walk of Fame inducted.
Hollywood Walk of Fame. So I mean, no, he needs to be the Kevin Feige of Star Wars.
Yep, he does.
Like they just need to go ahead and do that. Him and Dave Filoni, they could do it. I'm excited that Marvel's scaling back, and I'm worried that Star Wars is ramping up.
Yeah. So moving into our next story, a new live-action Hellboy movie is in the works. So this one's coming from Discussing Film. We have learned that following the recent failure of 2019's David Harbour-led Hellboy reboot, Millennium Media is looking to give the IP another shot and is actively developing a new live-action Hellboy film, one which has already been written with a director attached.
Oof.
So, Josh, you have feelings about this?
Did they say who the director was?
So, Brian Taylor has been chosen to direct the new Hellboy film. He is no stranger to developing comic book properties, having co-written the screenplay for 2010's Jonah Hex. He has also co-directed Ghost Rider's Spirit of Vengeance.
Massive Bomb.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But one thing, Crank, fire.
Yes, he also co-directed, I guess, Crank.
I thought that was the stupidest movie ever.
No, Jason Statham. That stuff was awesome.
He also directed Gamer, starring Gerard Butler, which was also a
massive flop.
So glad we're bringing in.
All right, so Hellboy's dead on arrival.
Yeah. Wait, is that a pun?
That or he's due for a win. Like it's one of the two.
I really want my boy David Harbour to get a redemption, but probably not.
No, he is never going back to that.
Yeah, it's but
he's moved on.
But let's be clear though, David Harbour was not the problem with that movie. It was kind of everything else.
I mean, yeah.
So I don't know. That makes me sad.
Because like the original, was it 2 movies with what's his name?
Old Ron Perlman.
Yeah, those 2 were good.
Well, more importantly, it was Mr. Guillermo del Toro.
That's true.
Guillermo.
And Niles voiced Abe.
Yeah. And so like I just
David Hyde Pierce voiced Abe.
Yes. And we got it, Fraser. And
no, I knew you got it, Josh. I didn't know about the other 2.
So I don't see, I like Hellboy. Like I loved the first 2 movies. They were great. The comics are cool. They're very trippy. But like this should be like a James Mangold movie, or Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele to do it.
Interesting.
I know he said he doesn't want to do comic book movies, but this one is just not comic booky enough that he might do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, no offense to this guy that I've never heard of, but directed a bunch of crap. Like, no offense to him, but
let Tarantino have this one.
Wow. Yes,
that'd be interesting.
I'm on board. Sold.
Or hell,
next case.
I'd like to see what Steven Spielberg could do with it.
Yeah, he's probably
literally anyone. Like, come on.
Yeah. Let's give a little.
How about anyone that has not made a flop? Come on.
Any of the Blumhouse guys.
Yeah.
Anyone who's done any of those Blumhouse horror movies. Like,
at this point, we're just naming cool directors. How about the Russo brothers?
Yes, absolutely. This is what.
Well, no, I mean, my list was a little more targeted. I was trying to find someone who would do good at horror.
Sam Raimi.
That is fundamentally what. I don't know if we're ready for that.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. That'd be nuts. Actually, yeah, no, that one wins. Actually,
Bruce Campbell plays Hellboy.
Sold. I'm in.
Down.
But yeah, so no,
Thank you.
I hadn't read this article until you brought it up, so I got really excited and then really let down. So that's going to be trash. Calling it right now. Like, you can write that in the prediction book. Trash.
Let's move into one more story. So Microsoft has officially removed Microsoft Internet Explorer from service. So they originally ended support for Internet Explorer last summer, but now it has officially been taken down. So you can no longer open up your Internet Explorer app to use Internet Explorer. So Internet Explorer originally launched all the way back in 1995 as a part of Windows 95. Whoa. And at one point, Internet Explorer commanded 95% of the internet market. So 95% of people using the internet at one point in time used Internet Explorer, and now it's dead. So,
most recently used to help you download Google Chrome.
Yeah.
Is Opera still around?
Yeah, I still use it.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I forgot about Opera.
Wow.
It's a solid one. I like it.
Yeah.
But no, I just thought that was noteworthy. I mean,
now that's not to say that Microsoft doesn't have a browser, which is Edge. Right.
Yeah,
Edge.
let's just not talk about that one.
I'm just saying.
It's trash. It's what you currently use to download Chrome.
Or Firefox.
Yeah.
I'm a Firefox person.
Wow, you still use Firefox. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that explains a lot of your problems.
Yeah.
Actually.
No. I was in Chrome, thank you, when I was opening the River Link. Thank you very much. Anyway,
so I just thought that was noteworthy. After all these years, the pioneer of the internet is officially dead. Rest in peace. All right, let's get into our spoiler review discussions.
Spoilers.
Of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and The Last of Us Episode 6. So we're going to start with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So we have all seen this. Josh, Christian, and I watched it in IMAX. Jason, I believe you watched in 3D, correct?
I did.
So slightly different viewing experiences, but...
He got that extra D.
So this movie officially kicked off Phase 5 of the MCU.
Thank God.
And we have been hyping this one for a minute now because that trailer was fire. So we went in pretty excited about this, but critics have not been so kind. So do we agree or disagree? How do we feel about this movie?
I'm more on the side of the fence of enjoyment because it is Ant-Man. It is Paul Rudd. I always said I used to be, I wish I was as funny as Paul Rudd.
Right. Love him so much.
But with that, with Paul Rudd being so funny and such a comedic actor, for how serious the movie or the subject was in the whole movie, it didn't hit as hard, you know? Like the stakes didn't seem so stakey.
So that was my big takeaway from this movie, is that what made the first two Ant-Mans so special for me is that Paul Rudd was such a central character and like a comedic character and his comedic timing, his delivery for all of his lines was just what made those movies. And there was very little of that in this movie.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my big topics I want to hit with you guys, is that it felt like he was not really the main character. But just overall, I came out of this, I didn't hate it. I did not love it as much as I was hoping I would, especially as a fan of the first two movies. It did not really feel like an Ant-Man movie, or at least an Ant-Man movie proper. But I want to get Jason's and Josh's overall takes on this movie.
No, it is my favorite Kang movie. like 1,000%. No, I mean that's the best way I can put it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm gonna rank it highly, but make no mistake, it's a misnomer to call it an Ant-Man movie. Mm-hmm. He just happened to be the hero that they used to bring in what looks like is going to be a fascinating and enthralling villain. So no, by the time you focused on Kang and then all the supporting characters, yeah, Ant-Man, I think that was a pretty easy paycheck for Paul Rudd. Like he didn't really have to do too much in that movie. So no, if you're going into it expecting an Ant-Man movie, you're probably not going to like it very much. I kind of got the vibe pretty early on that this was going to mostly be about Kang, which is good. I love Kang. Kang is awesome. Kang is one of my favorite Marvel villains. So from my point of view, having that expectation going in, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm excited to see what comes after it. And that's the big thing. This is the first Marvel movie in a while that has me hyped for what's coming next. Yeah. Because like Black Panther was good. I enjoyed Black Panther. It didn't really get me excited for the larger universe. Like I didn't feel like it was particularly building towards anything. This one is the first one in a long time that's just like, ooh, what's next? Ooh,
yes,
what's next?
I will give it that. Yeah.
So to me, it's a return to a more classic MCU feel.
So I do want to say up front, I would say I mostly like this movie. It was a very weird movie to me. I think there was a lot of expectation of suspension of belief of suspension of the logic that's been established within the Marvel Universe. But I think that it being in the quantum realm allowed it to be a little more believable in that universe. But like, the MODOK was just weird to me. The character MODOK, yeah, and his origin. I don't even know if that's comic accurate, but okay.
Not even close.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill Murray's role was completely miscast.
Yeah,
I'd agree for the type of character that it was. Like that should have been a nobody, honestly. That character.
Yeah.
The actor for that character. There were a couple misfires that really just took me out of the movie. Now, there were a couple of really cool scenes, like Michael Douglas coming in, walking behind his ants, looking like a badass. I was like, that's cool. I like that. I don't know why I liked it.
Michael Douglas was a highlight of this movie.
Yes. Yeah. And I agree with Josh. Jonathan Majors was the standout. He was fantastic. He had that quiet intimidation, which you knew, like, he was not to be trifled with. He stole every scene he was in. And it took me a while to make the connection, but I think his acting style in this movie reminded me of the assassin in Serenity.
Yeah.
Very similar to me. And I'm not hating it. I think it was great. It was a great choice. But that's my take on Ant-Man.
So, okay. I mean, it was a great MCU movie. It was a bad Ant-Man movie. It was not Ant-Man. I mean, I was telling you guys walking out of this theater, for the first hour of this movie, I was bored. Like, I was really bored until we got to, like, the Kang part of the movie.
Because that was the real part of the movie.
Yeah. Like, the whole build-up and I was frustrated. I wanted more Paul Rudd. And that's actually my first bullet point I want to talk about just to discuss, is that who was the main character? Like, aside from Kang.
It was Kang.
He was not in there until the second half of the movie. Because
Cassie.
The title characters...
I would argue it wasn't even Cassie. It was old Michelle Pfeiffer.
I think it was Michelle Pfeiffer. It's not Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer. It was Michelle Pfeiffer. It was Catwoman.
Yes and no for me. I agree with Jason.
Why?
I think Cassie was, because she was the catalyst of getting them down there.
Yeah.
Like, if she had nothing to do with making that quantum thing, this wouldn't have ever happened.
Yeah.
And
but if Michelle Pfeiffer had handled business 30 years earlier,
so that's my other thing.
But they were doing great without any of that knowledge before they even got down there.
I'm just saying, this movie was more about Michelle Pfeiffer than it was about Cassie.
Why did she have to keep Kang a secret? Because that was the laziest plot device to me. Oh, this whole movie's
it was building suspense for the sake of building suspense.
But like, yeah, this whole movie would not have happened if she had just came forward about Kang as soon as she came back from the quantum realm. Like this movie.
Hey, there is a universe-ending despotic ruler down in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
We need to never go there again.
Yeah. Like if you just said that, like,
yeah, like this whole movie would never have been made. Just be like, hey,
and like they never really established why she kept it a secret.
Yeah, like they made it sound like she did some horrible things or something. I mean, when we actually got to the flashback, yes, she was responsible for getting him his suit back.
But like she didn't know.
But she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then, yes, she was a terrorist, but she was a terrorist according to Kang, which means she was killing mindless robot people. So, like, there's no deep, dark secret here.
Yeah.
The only deep, dark secret she had was not telling people about Kang, which, again, logically makes no sense.
Yeah. Whatever. But also, it did not feel like the Ant-Man movie because a lot of the established supporting characters were not anywhere in this movie. So, like, Randall Park's Jimmy Woo, he made like a 5-second cameo. Michael Pena's Lewis.
Wait, he was in the movie?
He was at the coffee table with Ant-Man for like 5 seconds.
Oh, it was like that cheesy flashback stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was, I literally didn't even catch that.
He did not have a speaking line. He was there. He did not say anything.
Well, it's because he's been so busy with Jack Ryan the last few days.
No. Randall Park, Jimmy Woo.
Yeah, no. It's an office joke.
I get it. When they traded spots and he's trying to...
One day Jim played a prank on
that was
Dwight.
Park.
Yeah, that was Randall Park back before he was famous.
Well, you confused me because Michael Pena is in the Jack Ryan universe. He was not there either. Yeah, Michael Pena's Lewis. Like all those supporting characters, nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
and they were like some of the best parts of the original two movies. So like, why make this an Ant-Man movie? Why not just make it a Kang movie with Ant-Man as the supporting character?
Like, that actually would have been a baller move.
Yeah.
This is the first movie we're making from the point of view of the villain.
Yeah.
Aside from Loki, but the whole point is that Loki's kind of an anti-hero now. Anyway,
right.
But that would have been a baller move. Kang is going to be so important to the rest of this cycle that he gets his own movie.
Yeah, like I would have called this movie The Kang Dynasty. Just leave it at that and have Ant-Man being the established MCU character that kind of
cameos / supports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that would have...
Did we just fix it?
Yes.
We did.
Yes.
Like one simple move and over here.
Like we were talking, I
basically just have been more honest and and basically embraced what the movie actually was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now last week they were saying reports came out that they are thinking about already working on an Ant-Man 4. So I hope that one kind of goes back to Ant-Man proper if that does come to fruition. Because this was just not working for me. I
know you're a big Ant-Man fan. You're probably the biggest Ant-Man fan here.
Because like we were talking, Paul Rudd, maybe 20 minutes of screen time. Same for Hope Van Dyne. I forget the actress's name.
Evangeline Lilly.
Same with her. Like they barely had screen time. Like what was that?
Well, I'll say this. I will disagree with you on like how this Ant-Man movie was, because the jokes actually landed. It could have been Love and Thunder.
It could have been Love and Thunder.
It could have been Love and Thunder.
It was not Love and Thunder.
It was not. All the jokes landed.
They were
appropriately.
Great jokes. Where there were jokes, they were great. But like, I'm not even asking for like a joke fest. I'm just saying, give me more Paul Rudd.
And also, to me, the new confident superhero perspective that Scott Lang had did not work for his character. Like, I didn't like him writing his book. That just to me didn't fit for his character at all.
And that was kind of the funny part to me, because it was just like, he had to pick Cassie up from jail because she was out superheroing by herself, and which actually she wasn't really superheroing. She was just at a rally and she got arrested.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's your contribution to this whole thing. I saved the universe. And like, you can look at it both ways depending on who you are as a person. Yeah. Like he was like, yeah, I save the universe. I'm done for a little bit. Is that not good enough for you that you're at this rally and then you got arrested for and you shrank a cop car? Cool. Come back to me when you see another purple guy. Like, and it's like his whole thing is like, I get it. He's kind of done. He's
he
over did it all. Basically.
I didn't hate the idea of him writing the book. I think it should have flopped.
Yes.
Oh, that would have been great. That would have been perfect.
Like that would have played into his character.
Now, see, I thought that plot, that storyline played in well to his character, because if you remember back to Endgame, when he had just come back from the quantum realm and he's having lunch with Hulk and Captain America, and I forget who else was there. He was surprised that no one knew who Ant-Man was. Like, no one wanted to take a picture with him. It's
so
like,
that's what I'm saying. But now they suddenly know who Ant-Man is?
Well, I think it's because then he went on to save the universe.
Yeah, but I also feel like I just don't know how much everyone would have made sure that was known.
Well, we've had a discussion
just
before.
rubbed me the wrong way for the movie.
Yeah. I thought it was great.
I just think it would have been funnier if like he wrote this book and he was very excited about it and like no one cared.
That would have been hilarious.
Like he's the Avenger that still no one cares about.
Or that gets
that
wrong,
for laughs. That would have been fun.
Yeah, because he was misnamed the entire movie. Like he was first Spider-Man, then he was Thor.
Well, I guess we don't know that the book was a success. It could have been a flop. They just didn't establish that.
That's true. Yeah.
Because like as you're saying, Christian, like that
people were still
know who he was.
Yeah.
Like people recognize him, but they're not sure what they recognize him from. Like
they were joking, like people only wanted to take pictures with him if it was the dog taking the picture. Like no one actually wanted to take a picture with him. Yeah. So I guess that actually probably is what happens. Like no one actually cared about the book.
So this was an example of poor editing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
poor editing.
I mean, also though, the humility and his understanding of kind of where he fell in the hierarchy of the Avengers. Like even though like he was like, oh my God, Captain America, like, oh, I can't believe I keep, shaking your hand. Him feeling like, I like that level of his expectation of who, kind of that subdued awareness of who he was. Like he is an Avenger, but he's not like top tier Avenger. Like he knew that. And I
he's
think
not
that
the first
changed.
Avenger you would call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that changed in his head for the movie. And I didn't think that was a good way to go.
I think that's in that universe. Maybe that has changed because post Endgame, who's left? He actually might be one of the top Avengers now.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, see, even then, I think you'd be aware enough to know that it's more like by default rather than
Fair enough.
Anyway, that's my biggest gripe about the movie for me.
So let's just talk about the big points. So you kind of brought up MODOK. So MODOK, how do we feel how this one played out?
Okay, what's the original? What's his origin story for real in the comics? What is MODOK?
It's a totally different guy. I can't remember his name. He's like a scientist.
He's like one of the smartest people in the universe. He's like go-to bad guy. I did not mind what they did with this character. I like that it was Corey Stoll's character from the original movie.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat twist.
Yeah.
The design I think could have been better.
Yeah.
I thought he should have had more head, less face.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Total sense.
Like
they stretched his face so big, and it's like
it
didn't have any dimension to it. I think that's what it threw off.
Yeah, well, I mean, like really look at anyone around you. Like their face does not take up their whole head. Like that's the part that I think was weird. It's not that his head was huge.
Yeah.
It's that his eyes were like on the sides of his head. He almost looked
somebody got the
like,
screen settings
like fish-like. And so no, like it should have, especially because it was an exaggerated head, his face should have taken up like basically just it should have been squished in and pulled down.
But
like his eyeballs were almost like on his forehead and off to the side. Like it was just a very odd design for it. And what's most frustrating is when the helmet slammed down, the face had the correct proportions. Like the face was squished down,
like
and
his
in.
mask didn't line up with his actual face.
Yeah, like
Correct.
how is he seeing through that mask if his eyes are on the opposite ends of the eye hole?
Yeah, so no, it's like when it was time to use Corey Stoll's face, they just had like an oval. They scanned his face and they just put his face on the oval. And like that's just not how it works.
Yeah, because it seemed like they just 3D mapped his face.
Yeah, onto
like
an oval, but not onto like an actual 3D model.
Yeah.
It was just flat.
This
like,
flat surface without any dimension. Like because his nose was flat.
Yeah, like no matter what angle you looked at,
There was no depth to his eyes.
Yeah, so it was.
That's what it was.
It was a good idea.
Okay.
I didn't have a problem with it narratively. I didn't have a problem with it execution wise for the most part. But that was one poorly done special effect.
Yes, I agree with that. I like what they did with MODOK because this is a weird character, especially to do in live action.
That's what I was going to say.
So I'm glad that they used it. Like, I'm glad it had to be a one-off.
It had to be a one-off, and it had to be kind of a joke.
Yes. It's like it would only make sense in the quantum realm. It would only make sense in the context of a movie that has a joke overtones. Like, it would not make sense in a more serious movie. Mm. So I'm glad they used it while they could, and we'll never see him again.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean,
I certainly hope so.
I think you said it well. Like, I cannot think of a context in which it would have been better.
Yeah.
So for the sake of getting one of the most famous Marvel villains some screen time in the MCU, I think they saw an opportunity. They took it because they knew they probably weren't going to get another one.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, like, I'm fine with 4 out of 5 for MODOK. Like,
yeah, just for MODOK.
Yeah. For the most part, it was fine.
4 tiny limbs out of 5.
Ah.
What else? Before we wrap this up, anything else
about Ant-Man or MODOK?
Ant-Man.
Oh,
the movie that we're talking about.
So what about the it's twist is a strong word. What about the turn that Ant-Man kind of realized afterwards, but that by destroying, we'll call him Kang Prime, he may have unleashed all of the Kangs.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I do want to say the way they ended the movie, like where he's kind of second guessing if he actually saved the day or not, that was cool.
Yes.
Because they never really had that moment before. Where
most heroes never self-reflect.
Yeah. It's like, I really like the way they ended that movie. Because it just kind of suddenly ended.
Imagine if that happened to the Avengers. Like, they were sitting in the Swarmer place. You're like, whoo, what a day.
Wait.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Will that ever happen again? We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do like that moment. But anyway, going back to what you were saying about all the Kangs.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's Kang Prime was banished by the other Kangs, which we knew there were other Kangs before because the one who remained was a Kang.
Yeah.
And at that point in the timeline, he was essentially the Kang that won.
Mm-hmm.
And he was benevolent enough that he tried to clean everything up and make one universe with one timeline, which is very nice. That was a very nice thing to do. Of course, we say that as the universe that survived. So,
yeah.
So, other people may have had a different view, but make no mistake, this is still a Kang that exterminated 99.999999999 to infinity of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Like, he was nice and he was fun to watch, but make no mistake, he was the most genocider of all genocides. So, Loki and other Loki, girl Loki,
Sylvie.
Kill him, which undoes all of the stabilization, but that also means it brings back all the other Kangs, which one of the last things he said was, now they're all coming. And so it's as much buildup as we got for this Kang being the evil Kang. Statistically, he's probably not. He's probably going to end up in the grand scheme of thing being a nobody Kang. Yeah. It was just that one Kang that the other Kangs didn't like.
Mm.
So I don't know. This could be an interesting twist. It also means, how many Kang villains are we going to get? Because theoretically, there's infinite Kangs.
So that's a good point. So
which is why I was saying, like, when we left one of the first, I was getting very much some Rick and Morty vibes. And I didn't really mean it from like the humor standpoint. I meant it from the universe is infinite. And that was something that the show always leaned into. There's always more Ricks. There's always more Mortys. There's always more. So like, now that we're really leaning into the crux of the multiverse angle, they just eliminated the biggest bad guy. There's infinitely more biggest bad guys of just that bad guy. And so, like, that is bad news. That's not good.
Yeah, it's kind of how I took it at the end when Robo Kang, which is like, how many did you invite? And he was like,
them.
All of us.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, so he kind of was just like, do we really need all of these guys here? Because they're all equally as bad in their own way. But That also brings up the thing about Nathaniel Richards, which is a version of Kang, which is also Reed Richards' son, which will become Iron Lad.
Correct.
So it's like, ooh, when will that happen?
Yeah. Richards and Kangs are related by blood.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Well, see, and that's why
I didn't know that.
That's why I liked. So it's one of the more subtle Easter eggs throughout the whole thing. But the portal tech for Kang, Reed Richards in Doctor Strange, and the Time Police people, the TVA, they all use the exact same portal tech.
Oh.
And it's because one of them, probably Reed Richards, because chronologically Reed Richards would have been the first one. He invented that, and it's been used by his family ever since.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, again, that's one of the more subtle ones, but yeah, like that was really cool. I like that. So yes, whether it ever gets to that point where you see like the direct offspring, that at least I don't know, but when we're on like movie 65 of
well,
these,
Josh, interestingly enough, I caught an article about the upcoming Fantastic Four, and they're looking for potentially older actors to play Sue and Reed Richards because they're going to be parents.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
to not start them when they're all in their 20s.
Exactly.
30s.
Yeah.
I also like the callback to Moon Knight, the King Ramatut Kang.
Yeah.
Which was subtly kind of like featured. Remember the cliff scene?
Mm-hmm.
It was on the back of the guy's jacket.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't.
Nice.
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, check that one out.
Well, see, I didn't know enough to even catch it. I'll say that I wouldn't have known to catch it if I saw it. Yeah. So,
but see, this comes back to the original. This comes back to our original complaint, though. It is way more fun and more interesting to talk about all the Kang stuff that happened than the Ant-Man stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the ants were there, so that's cool. I was worried about that.
Yeah.
Showed up for 2 seconds at the end.
Yeah.
And not by Ant-Man, but by Hank.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go back to the Michael Douglas thing. He was a treat in this movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's probably done.
Probably, but he was having fun, and I enjoyed every scene he was in.
Yeah. I mean, he's always fun to watch, but I just get the vibe that's probably the last. Certainly, with any amount of effort. Like he may show up in a cameo or something, but I'm thinking he's probably done.
Yeah. And then the post credit scene, we got a little look at Loki again, teasing up season 2 of Loki coming out this year at some point. So
I missed Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Missed him.
Haven't we all?
Yeah.
Loki and Hansel. I mean, Owen Wilson. I'm sorry.
Oh, Hansel.
Okay.
I
see what you did there.
Yeah. But also, can we talk about the movies within the movie? I'd love to see.
What do you mean?
All right.
The 1,000 years where the ants were just off by themselves.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Becoming a level 2 technocrat.
Technocracy.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I was trying to figure out the noun version of it. I was just like, ooh.
Well, okay. It sounds like we're wrapping things up. So
Corey's like, all right, let's wrap it.
Let's review this crap.
Review it.
Wow.
So who wants to kick us off? Reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. What are we scoring it?
Well, mine has a decimal in it.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 4.4.
Not even a multiple of 5. Okay.
Yeah, that actually kind of bothers me. Like, come on.
It's making Corey itch a little bit.
Let's
go Jason next.
I'm going to give this one a whole number. Because I think going below this one would not be, it would be disingenuous, because I don't think that, everybody's giving this movie so much flack. Like all the critics are just pummeling it.
So I'm going to
right.
interrupt you real quick, Jason. And I always do this. I'm sorry. So
I'm stopping right there.
I know. But I'm
gonna let you finish.
You open the door to it. So let's just very quickly talk about the disparity between critic scores and audience scores for this movie, because we have talked about this before. We actually had an entire episode where we talked about how critics are stupid. And right now on Rotten Tomatoes, the overall score that critics have given this movie is a 48%, which is a rotten score. This is the second lowest ever MCU movie. The audience score, with several thousand reviews, is at an 84%. So that is a 40% difference Like that's huge. So what the heck is going on there, critics? Get it together. It is not at 48%. It's not that bad.
No, it's not.
But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to bring that up.
It's interesting. Mine is right in the middle. Mine is a 3.0.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll go next. So I'm right there with you, Jason. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. And I kind of hate doing that because I did not hate this movie. And 3 is pretty low for what I typically score things. Like I don't typically go that low, but it was fine. I was kind of bored the first half of the movie, but the second half it picked things up once Kang entered the picture. But it was not an Ant-Man movie, and that really took me out of enjoying this movie for what it could have been. Like if this had been a proper Ant-Man movie, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But it was not what I wanted. It was not what I expected. But overall, it was fine. So I'm going to get a 3 out of 5. And then Josh,
it was a crap Ant-Man movie, but a great Kang movie. It was like a 2 out of 5 Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. But like a 6 out of 5 Kang. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
All right. So 4 whats? By now you should just know you had to do this.
Yeah, I know. 4 mechanical organism designed only for killings out of 5.
Nice. That's a MODOK for those that don't know.
Or 4 autonomous households out of 4.
Yeah, is your house alive? What is your dad?
Oh. So all averaged together across the board, we were giving Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania a 3.6 out of 5.
So it's like a 70%. That feels right.
Yeah.
Like that's
better than what Rotten Tomatoes is giving it. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our second review of this episode, where we discuss HBO's The Last of Us, episode 6. Titled Ken. So we just finished watching this one. We jumped right into recording. So thoughts?
5 out of 5.
Oh, I guess we're starting with scores.
Yeah. I appreciate the slower episode.
Yeah.
But
it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah. It definitely still stabbed you in the gut.
Okay, spoilers if we have not mentioned that already. Spoilers. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, I say it every single episode, but they change things from the game, but it all still ends up at the same place. Because in the game, they do end up finding his brother, and they do end up going to that university after the Fireflies. They discover that they're not there, and they do come across those bandits, which is what they initially escape the building from. But then Joel gets tackled in the game and falls on rebar, which is actually how he gets his entry in the game. But in the show, he gets stabbed. He gets shanked. But the result remains the same.
Stab.
So it's pretty cool. Like, they're changing things up, but like, it's still the same.
Still the same. Same but different.
And so Josh was saying, as long as Joel doesn't cry in this episode, I'm good. Well,
yeah,
he cried a lot.
He did. He did. That's a good change. I guess it's not really necessarily a change. It's an expansion from the game. In the game, like we get hints that Joel has inner turmoil. The show has expanded upon that greatly to the point where the B story through this episode was him dealing with his physical response to all of the pressure and PTSD and everything else that's just starting to take a toll.
Well, it's not just this episode though. Like, from episode 1, he's been dealing with his hand issue. We know he has the hearing issue. What else? I mean,
he's a physical wreck.
Obviously, the heart issue.
Yeah, he's like 65.
He's up there.
He's 50s.
Yeah,
50s. He's supposed to be in his 50s.
30, yes.
Yeah.
We have like the heart issue now. I guess it's actually just panic attack, but it's affecting his heart.
He's having panic attacks. Yeah,
but like, those health issues were not in the game whatsoever.
No,
like he was
and like I said, they hinted that he was dealing with stuff, but they never really took it too far. They just left him the silent cowboy.
Yeah,
in the games, and you could tell there were things going on, but he's a real man who just bottles it up and moves on. So this is a good expansion. I like this. It makes Joel a more 3-dimensional character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because if anything, it makes the big, strong macho man I don't want to call it an act because he is a big, strong macho man, but that side of his personality, it actually makes that more important and more have a bigger weight because he's having to force himself to do that.
Gives it more gravitas.
Yeah, inside he's crying.
Yeah,
like inside he is
outside
not
too.
Yeah, but
but you know
what I mean.
Out,
like it's no longer just that's just how he is. He's a big strong man. Now he's got some serious problems, but this is important enough that he is forcing himself to do it.
Yeah,
and that's cool. That's good. That is good expansion. That is good deviation.
Yeah,
from the game, which I think we all agree all the deviation so far has pretty much been for the better.
Yeah, it's been solid. Yeah,
I can't think of anything they've changed so far where I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, no, nothing comes to mind.
Like I literally cannot think of anything where I was just like, man.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Yeah.
What else? So the big thing I think is that, sorry, I was usually I wait for you to finish your, but I'm just jumping in.
It'll probably help.
So there were some foreshadowings. Well, not really foreshadowings, but some elements taken from the second game to help flesh out the story in this first season from the first game. We got a bigger look at Jackson, the town that they were in. That is the town that they show a lot more of in the second season, like exact scenes, like exact streets and stuff, straight from the second game. So it's nice to actually see that kind of taking a bigger role in this first season with the first game to kind of like help flesh out that story. And then there was a scene where Joel and Ellie were talking about what they would do after this is all over. And Ellie was mentioning the whole astronauts and stuff. And there actually is a big storyline in the second game where Joel, once like they're all grown up and like they're past the whole Firefly thing, spoilers for the second game, Joel takes her to a long since abandoned museum, a NASA museum, because she had always talked about wanting to see space shuttles and stuff. And actually they called out Huntsville in that little scene there because it's a space museum.
Woo woo.
Yeah, like they are taking stories that they just touched on in the second game into this first season to kind of like connect things early on. So that's pretty cool. Like I don't remember her ever mentioning space stuff in the first game.
No, this was new information. I haven't played the second game.
Yeah,
me either.
I'll recommend. But yeah, so I think that's
waiting
cool.
for the PC version.
Like they're building a more fleshed out story here in this first game of the TV show to tie into things that are coming later that are established in the game. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's pretty nice. Yeah, I just enjoyed the further connection between Joel and Ellie. Like he's been fighting it for so long, and it's just
to actually see them bonding.
Yeah, and then the fact that like she calls him out on it.
Yeah,
just like, hey, you care about me. This is why you're doing this. Just say it.
just say it.
Just say it. It's fine.
Yeah. We saw Tommy again. He finally found Tommy.
Mm. Kind of fleshed out what his role is a little bit compared to the games. Like in the games, you just kind of found him and that was it.
Yeah.
Like it's nice that they're giving him a larger place in this world.
Yes.
In the TV show.
He does have a much bigger role in the second game. I will say that if they keep that true to the game, he will have a lot more appearances next season. But yeah, no, it was nice to kind of close that thread because it really kind of solidified that, okay, now that Tommy's out of Joel's mind, his sole focus is on Ellie.
Yeah.
And he's only doing it because he cares about her at this point. Because there was that option. He could have just let Tommy take her.
Yep.
But no, he stuck it out. And then he got stuck.
And she wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
He was just saying, you got one choice, or you got two choices. He was like, all right, let's go. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
And can we talk about the little scene towards the end where they demonstrated how amazing of a shot he is?
Yeah.
Like, and Ellie wins.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to shoot this thing or get it pregnant. But like, perfect shot. That kind of like that illustrates he's actually pretty freaking good.
And I almost feel like that almost it like solidifies to himself that he's still worthy.
He's capable of doing this.
True.
Yeah.
Until he got shanked.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Immediately proving that maybe he's not.
Yeah. he had a huge chip on his shoulder and it got knocked off real fast.
Now he's got a chip in his
gun.
gun.
Yeah. And then fake horse. Are you calling that out,
bro? Okay. If you just looked at it, like there was no detail in it.
It was a clearly composited horse.
One of its legs was sticking up for some reason. Its back leg.
I think it was on the train track. It was
no, no. That was a fake.
I just
horse.
don't understand why they would use a fake horse in that one shot.
Well, my guess is it was probably a pickup shot. They realized they didn't have a final shot to end the episode on, so they had footage of her kneeling over him. Okay, that's easy. Composited on the background. Okay, that's easy. Oh crap, where's the horse?
PETA.
They spent $10 on a horse model. Get the horse model in there.
PETA. PETA. Okay, you can only use those animals in certain amounts of time in conditions like such.
They're like toddlers.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fine. I'm not judging them for it.
Kind of sounds like you're judging.
No.
I didn't notice it till Christian pointed it out.
I mean, I noticed that
but
the
once
horse
I
was
saw
like
it,
uncannily still. I was just like, it's just a stoic horse.
It's really still.
It's just a stoic
I'm just saying,
horse.
like when they were coming back to the horse after getting out of the building,
yeah,
it was moving around. You could see it. It's like you can see the hair flowing through the wind.
Horses don't stand still. That's
they
not
don't.
a thing.
They really don't. Not that still. It was a fake horse.
So yeah, I'm still thinking they just realized they needed a pickup shot.
Yeah,
and they put it together. I don't think it's as deep as PETA. I think if it was planned, it would have looked better.
Yeah,
that strikes me as a shot they realized they needed right at the deadline.
Yeah.
So that aside, the rest of this episode was beautiful. Like we kept saying, "Oh my gosh, these shots!"
Yeah,
like
they did a lot of outdoor work.
I want to go to there,
but you don't though.
But yeah,
not during the wintertime.
Yeah,
I don't do cold.
But it was pretty.
It
was very, very pretty.
Very well shot. So yeah, let's get into scores.
5 out of 5.
Okay. 5.
It's not changing. Why even ask me?
5 stoic horses out of 5.
5 fake horses out of 5.
Yeah, I'm staying solid 5, Christian.
5 snowy top mountains out of 5.
This might be the longest streak of 5s we've ever had. Because Star Trek Strange New Worlds got iffy there in the middle. That one episode.
That one episode. I was going to say, don't even say in the middle. That makes it sound like it was a run. It was one episode was bad.
We're keeping Jason. Obviously, if you have not noticed, Jason disappeared. That satellite crashed. No, he was unable to join us for this segment, but we're going to assume
5 out
he's
of 5.
taking out of 5. So we are still 5 across the board for this episode of The Last of Us. We have 3 more episodes. So we still got a lot to cover in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I don't have my agenda pulled up.
I get that.
But something that we saw in the news is that this show is having better viewership than like House of the Dragon, something like that.
Yep.
Like there was like a 1 week period.
Oh, The Last of Us, not us.
Yeah, correct. I was like, we are outpacing HBO.
Chris is like, where's my check?
Yeah, right on.
No, it was like there was like a 1 week period where it was outpacing the viewership of House of the Dragon for the same period or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it was based on the number of episodes that have come out so far compared to the same number of episodes for House of the Dragon. It has more viewers.
Yeah, so that's pretty baller.
There's more video game nerds than nerds that like dragons.
Well, see, I don't think it's video game nerds at this point. I think it's just peeps.
Yeah,
we got our parents on it. They like it. Oh, man. I say we. I didn't have anything to do with it. But. And then it's also worth noting that a cinematographer for the show has said that they were restricted. They were banned on set from using the word zombies. They had to call them the infected. I mean, so
they're not zombies because they're not dead.
That's what Josh said.
Oh, they didn't start dead.
It's just so much easier to say zombie than the infected.
Or to say infected.
But zombie, infected. It's literally one more syllable.
Yeah, sometimes they don't even say the or the.
Yeah.
They say infected.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Is there infected over there? Boom. Because you sound weird. Is there the infected over there?
Are the infected over there?
That's all I got. So make sure you come back next week for episode number 86 or 86. Whoa, 46 86 is coming a few weeks from now. But
we'll be there.
We will be there, hopefully. Don't have much planned yet, aside from Last of Us. So stay tuned for some surprises, I guess.
We'll see what happens.
I think Cocaine Bear comes out soon.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's maybe this week. We might be watching it. I don't know.
I mean,
we'll see.
Is it one of those things where it just goes straight to streaming too? After a few?
I don't know. Maybe.
Feels like something you could fandango at home.
Yeah. Somebody have a Fire Stick?
I just want to see it. Yeah. Anyway, in the meantime, come back next Tuesday. But what should nerds be doing until then, Josh?
You should eat, sleep, nerd.
Take it easy, people.